every answer to every camera.
So how do you feel? I mean, there's some guys that are notoriously hard to knock out. You did it. I mean, you talked about in the octagon how you saw the opportunity, and when you saw that opening again, you went for it. But I mean, this is a guy who's like a rattlesnake. I mean, he could have came back and got you, right? So, I mean, how do you feel about that win?
I feel really great, man, especially to get a TKO like that. Tim's really hard to finish, dangerous the entire 15 minutes. We've all seen that throughout his career. So I couldn't be more excited.
What was it? Talk about 205. That seems to be the big story here. I mean, what was it like? I guess maybe not as big a weight cut, I assume?
Yeah, it was great. You know, I felt like I had a ton of energy. I felt no fatigue going into that second round. My energy level throughout the entire week was amazing, more than I've ever had. I'm sure I was a hell of a lot more pleasant to be around for my corners and my family and everybody. So I'm getting older, so health-wise, you know, I think it's a great move for me.
How much did the weight cuts affect your health?
You know, it's hard to say. You know, I don't know what kind of studies are out on long-term weight cutting, you know, and how that can affect you. But I've been doing this for 15 years. It's got to take some effect. My last fight, I got TKO'd for the first time in 40 fights, and you know, I think the weight cut could have had something to do with that. So coming in feeling fresh, you know, I took some big punches from Tim, so you know, I'm pretty happy with the way I felt at 205.
That might be a silly question, but is fighting more fun at 205 for you?
Fighting's definitely more fun. Like I said, I got to enjoy the holidays and eat dinner with my family, and just in general enjoy life a little bit and not have to worry about the weight cut, you know, throughout the entire camp. I got to just focus on my training.
Now, what is the weight cut like now at 205?
Well, right now it's really easy. I just had to kind of watch my diet just a little bit, and that was it. You know what I mean? There wasn't really much weight cut, so now I can go and try to put some muscle on, and you know, because some of these guys are pretty big at light heavyweight, so you know, I also think with the sport getting cleaned up though, with all the new drug testing policies, that it's going to make a huge difference. So you're going to see guys fighting at their natural weight more.
Let's talk about that too. What is the weight cutting and the new drug testing? What do they have in common?
What they have in common is guys have been cheating for years. Bottom line, doing steroids, cheating, and it's getting cleaned up. So you've seen it already. Guys don't look the same. Tonight, every show, you see the difference. Not to call out any names, but it is what it is, man. I've been a clean fighter, no performance-enhancing drugs my entire career. I'm proud to say that. So I think it's going to make a big difference for me. A lot of these guys are used to having that, so when they don't have it, it's going to make a difference.
Do you think those extreme weight cuts and rehydration with IVs, was that part of it too?
I think definitely the extreme weight cuts and the dieting and the dehydration can lead to, you know, maybe worse concussions, maybe, you know, like I said, maybe you can't take as good a punch. I don't know for sure. All I know is I felt a hell of a lot better. Sorry, excuse me. I feel a heck of a lot better, and I felt amazing throughout the entire time. So it's definitely the right move for me.
Now you said you won't mention any names, but were there particular fights where either before, during, or after you encountered evidence that somebody was actually cheating?
Well, I mean, there's guys who I fought and, you know, who tested positive after the fight, and they called it a no contest. You know, look at some of the guys who are getting caught. You know what I mean? It's obvious. You can look at a guy and tell. I mean, some of these guys are, you know, it's been obvious for years. So I'm just glad that the sport's finally getting cleaned up. I was thinking about retiring because I didn't want to have to do that as I got older, just to stay competitive. So hopefully now the young guys, they don't have to do that either. They can be healthier and, you know, fight clean, and let's do it, man.
So you've struggled with consistency in the past. Now you're feeling healthier. You're definitely a smarter fighter. That comes with age. So that's going to keep you competitive with some of these young guns at your weight class?
I hope so, man. These young guns are, you know, getting scarier every year, getting younger and stronger and faster. So I'm just going to do my best to train hard and be healthy and keep competing as long as I can.
Were you pushing or lobbying in any way for this sort of cleanup before it happened?
I've always lobbied for more drug testing, being a clean fighter, and you know, I'm just glad to see it's finally happening. I don't know what else more I can say about it. It's what I've already said. You know, it's bottom line. There's been guys cheating for years. It's cheating. So let's get these cheaters out of here. Let's get the real men in here who are going to fight clean and fight with their natural ability.
Do you feel it's the infusion of dollars into the sport, like with all the viewership numbers and ticket sales and so on, that finally was able to raise enough money, if you will, to actually invest into these serious testing procedures?
I don't know. I hope so. The problem is with all the extra money too, guys are going to find new ways to cheat. More money, better doctors they're going to have. There's, I don't know, but I know there's a lot of ways these guys are getting away with it still. There's a lot of guys who still get away with it. They probably still always will, but there'll be less of them.
Do you feel these sorts of punishments you've seen in the past, or a slap on the wrist, like you said, like a no contest or a few
Right,
months
in the
off?
past, yeah, it was like a 3-month suspension, 6-month suspension. Guys are like, hey, I want 6 months off anyway. You know what I mean? Now with the 2-year suspension, they have a lot to lose. That's a long time to not fight, 2 years. So I'm more than happy to be tested on a regular basis, and hopefully they keep continuing to do that and keep the sport at a fair level, fair playing field.
Throughout your career, you said you probably fought opponents who were on PEDs. I mean, I guess you've been honest or not, but was there any temptation for yourself?
Definitely there was temptation. Like I said, getting older, trying to stay competitive with these young beasts coming out of nowhere, you know what I mean? Or not coming out of nowhere, but just all these super athletes getting involved. Some of these guys 38, 39 years old looking like, I mean, come on, it's obvious, so it's been unfair, and I didn't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to risk my body and my health. And again, I feel like I'm a role model, and I want these young kids to be able to compete clean and healthy and not have after effects from drug use.
What about something that people don't usually talk about is you have a guy who obviously breaks the rules by taking shortcuts, drugs, whatever, but then you have his teammates, his coaches, they seem to be kind of cool with it because next thing you know they're still training together. It's like it never happened. I mean, do you feel people are somewhat aiding this behavior by not kicking a guy out of a gym, for example?
I don't know in that sense. I've had a lot of guys I've known over the years and trained with who have used them, but everybody was using them. Not everybody, but a lot of guys were using them. So, I think they figured they should too to keep up. So like I said, the temptation's always been there. You know what I mean? I'm glad now that I never, fell into that with the sport finally getting cleaned up. But for years it seemed like it just got worse and worse. So I'm excited that that it is the way it is now.
And one more question about that: does it ultimately feel to you, either in your gut or even legally, that it's fraud? Because ultimately that person's taking money out of your table.
It is fraud. It's straight up cheating, man. It's cheating. They're taking money out of my pocket. But there's a lot of money involved. So crooks get involved. Look at baseball and football. You know what I mean? It's in every professional sport, and it's sad to say. So hopefully, with an awesome company like Reebok getting involved, that'll help make things, continue to get better. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here.
Can you tell us about your training, and did you do anything differently to prepare for the fight?
I moved back home to the Great Northwest, out in Portland, Oregon, and Southwest Washington, training with some of my old friends and coaches, like my jiu-jitsu coach Fabiano Scherner, and my new kickboxing coach Robert Hannon, who I just started working with about 3 months ago. So that was a lot of fun working with him. He didn't try to change me. He just helped me, fix a few mistakes that I'm making. But I'm training with a lot of my old school, friends and stuff from the old school Team Quest days, and it's just good to be home around family.
Can you talk about your remarks after the fight about being a clean fighter? I think good to be at 205 as a guy who's been clean the whole time, and what does it mean to you that guys are being popped now? Is the sport cleaner? Can you just address that?
Well, hopefully it continues to, get cleaned up more and more. I said it 30 times already, let's get the cheaters out of here, bottom line.
Did you feel like you went against some cheaters earlier in your career?
Definitely, most definitely.
And with these guys getting popped now, is this sending a message out, or are it just people trying to cheat the system again?
Guys will always find a way to cheat, man. They've been doing it in every professional sport all over the world forever. So, just hopefully there'll just be less of them, because 2 years or whatever getting suspended is long enough to where it's going to make a difference. Before it was a slap on the wrist, 6 months suspension ain't nothing for guys.
Was this an area of frustration for you earlier?
Definitely an area of frustration.
So there's some guys right now that you're looking at that could be a good matchup for you. Now that you have a new weight class, you know, maybe somebody that you wish you would face before. Now it's your chance. Maybe you guys are on similar paths. So what are you thinking about that fighting next?
And you know, I have a hard time calling people out. I'm not that good at talking smack. So there's a lot of great guys at the light heavyweight division. I'm game to take on any of them. You know, especially some of those guys who are looking a little softer. You know, not as chiseled. Bring me those guys. We'll see how it's going to go on a fair playing field.
Want to get Glover again one day?
Sure, anytime.